how do you use ChatGPT without eroding your critical thinking skills? They said that they had found that their ability to like write and critically think and basically be what they used to be is diminishing because of their overuse of these tools. Yo everyone, welcome back. Brand new Techish in the building. It is me, Michael Berhane, and I'm joined with the amazing
Abadesi of Hustle Crew.
I want to give a shout out to the student who basically found a way to cheat on these testing platforms they give you when you try to get a coding job. They're called like Leak Coder. Essentially, you go to get a job at big tech or a fan company, there's a certain platform that they all use. And he basically invented an AI that allows you just to circumvent that and cheat. And he got like 3 to 4 job offers. And he launched the product on Twitter, talked about it, and he ended up getting let go from his university, Columbia. I guess they're saying that, listen, you brought the university into disrepute. You got to be let go. But I would say I have to commend the ingenuity. What would you say if your son came to you and was like, if your son came out and was like, listen, I've been very creative. I've created this product, but I've got expelled from university.
It's a shame because we know that some of the best engineers started their career as hackers, right? And we know that there are tech companies that love to recruit hackers. And it's a very common way for, especially if you're like from the global South, so you didn't graduate from Berkeley or like any of these fancy colleges and you want to get into Silicon Valley, you might actually like look for bugs in the companies that you want to work for, or like send them like, you know, like products, features that they should improve upon. Like you'll prove your coding powers through demonstration. And I feel in some ways, this is what the guy's done. Like he has proved his coding abilities through demonstration. He's like, hey, I managed to like, has anyone done that before? Like this is like a novel way to cheat the system. And I feel like he is going to get a job somewhere. Like it's good that Columbia kicked him out because I'm pretty sure there'll be like a bunch of YC companies like lining up to try and like find him because I don't know. I think it's smart. I actually think it's smart.
Yeah.
Would I hire him? I don't know. That's
Do you know what? I probably would, because I'm like, listen, you're obviously like very creative. You're obviously quite ingenious, and you're a hustler. Like you're willing to kind of figure things out, and you know maybe bend a few rules here and there. So yeah, why not? I do think.
But would it have been smarter to say, by the way, I've worked out a way to cheat this? Like it would have been more of a finesse if he'd been like, by the way, I actually like he needs to be able to solve the problems and then also beat the system as well.
Yes.
Like, is he smart enough to make that tool, but not smart enough to solve? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, because, you know, maybe he's smart enough to build the tool, but he can't actually solve the problems. I don't know.
No, but you know what? It's like when you go for certain job interviews, what they ask you in the interview very rarely is what your job is, especially the bigger the company is, I found. So a lot of these coding questions are like really abstract, algorithmic based questions. Or how do you do a binary tree in 5 seconds? You're like, listen, you're not going to need to know how to do that during your day job. No way. You're just doing HTML and CSS, right? Same with banking. Like they ask you these silly brain teasers, like how many tennis balls can fit in a jumbo jet? And it's just like, this is nonsense. So actually to me, shout out to him. I feel like he's exposed a lot of just like irrelevant, you know, nonsensical systems that were not needed in order to get the best talent, the best candidates. But what I think is going to happen is we're going to end up in a situation where companies are going to bring you back to IRL for an interview. It's going to be a whiteboard. It's going to be 2-3 people in the room, and you're going to have no devices allowed, no phone, no potential smart glasses, no nothing. Because we need to know, is it just, it's going back to the old school. Even in education, everything's going to go back to IRL, just like, yo, we're writing it down, pen and paper in the exam hall. I'm going to set you an assignment. Everyone's doing it in class on paper. Because with these tools, like nobody knows if anybody knows anything anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like I did a TikTok.
Does it matter? Does it matter as ChatGPT anyway? I use a calculator. It didn't matter that I learned my times tables. Like I'm getting my phone out. I'm not, you know, doing mental arithmetic. Sorry, go on. You did a TikTok. He has 22 followers, by the way. 22,000 followers.
Oh, that's on Instagram. On TikTok is 12, isn't it? So can we at least get accurate here with my level of celebrity, right? Fact check on my celebrity levels, in it, yeah. So I did a TikTok about using AI because ChatGPT basically has memory quite inbuilt into it. It used to be that you'd give it a request and it wouldn't remember a single thing about you. I eventually asked it, based on everything that you now know about me, give me my top 5 blind spots. It was interesting. Came up with some good stuff that I thought was quite fascinating about me. It did know me quite well. But somebody on my TikTok was like, how do you use ChatGPT without eroding your critical thinking skills? They said that they had found that their ability to like write and critically think and basically be what they used to be is diminishing because of their overuse of these tools. So don't get twisted. Even though everyone is going to be using these tools, like you still need a foundation of like, yes, I can write. Yes, I can do my addition and division. Yes, I can, you know what I mean, critically think through a problem. And then these tools should be additive, but they shouldn't just replace and diminish your existing skill sets.
But I feel that we're having like two different conversations. Like, yes, 100% people should still learn how to read and
Hmm.
count and write. I believe those will always be valuable. And people should also learn how to analyze information. But I feel that like school curriculums are still not evolving to help, for example, children or young people disseminate fact from fiction online. They're not teaching them how to use the internet safely. They're not teaching them how to stop being groomed in a Roblox or Minecraft room. And it's like we end up having all these conversations about like, oh, but the threat of AI making us stupid or making us dumber. And I was like, okay, well, what about right now, right here, how we use the internet, how we rely on these tools? Like, what are we doing right here, right now to empower and educate kids and young people? And we're not even doing that. And then we're like focusing on the future. Yeah, I mean, I've seen the movie Idiocracy. I know like
Hmm.
what we could potentially get to, and I hear you for sure. But I also think that, I don't know, there are things that we can do now that we're not doing. Like instead of like making kids get in trouble for using AI to write their high school essays, people should be showing those young people, those teenagers, how they can use AI to do, I don't know, personal finance planning or like self-reflection conversations about what they should study for university, if they should go to university, what skills they have that could help them, start their career now. Because you can use AI in those ways, right? It can be a careers counselor, it can be a coach, it can be a therapist. So yeah, the tool's already there, they're already using it. So like help them use it to like address issues, address problems, or like, you're talking about loneliness, disconnection, like how can they use these tools to like plan a fun event to invite your classmates to? But yeah, anyway.
I think that's a good shout. I think it's probably going to end up being like a barbell strategy where you have like lots of stuff that's old school where you're writing by hand, and then on the opposite end of the spectrum, build out your whatever you want to build out with AI, like be as creative as possible. But this, I think we're in the middle now where people are getting assignments and they're just using AI to just do it for them. And that's not helping anybody, I don't think. I don't think they're learning anything. I think it's just a way of circumventing the system, tricking their teachers, and no one's gaining anything from that, right? So do it old school
The
and then do it
future,
completely new school, not this in-between thing where we're doing the new school stuff to cheat with the old school stuff, if that makes sense.
I think in like more economically developed countries, but where like governments are losing money because, they've just been living on the slavery and empire wealth for too long and it's
Mm,
running dry, it's running out. I could see a world where public schools are increasingly reliant on technology because there's already examples that I've heard from people. I was shocked by this. Someone told me that PE in their child's government funded school here in the UK was watching a YouTube video and the
that's
kids just
insane.
do what's on the YouTube video. And
Oh,
I
okay,
was
they copy
like,
it.
wait,
Okay, I thought they just
what?
watched. I thought they were just watching it. Okay, go on. Yeah, they actually do stuff. Right, go
Yeah, I
on.
mean, like, obviously, that's how most of us do YouTube workouts at home. Put it on and
Yeah,
go do it. But then I
ambience.
was just like, okay, so you could have, right? And there's probably some evil technology company building this already, like a surveillance room, right? Like a surveillance in a classroom. And the whole day is no human interaction other than the students. So the students just interact with screens all day. It's like, hello, I am your math tutor. Like, we will be doing algebra. And then there's algebra. And then it's like, now we'll be doing PE.
Yeah.
It's almost like prison, but school. And all you need is one person with all the screens in the control room making sure that no one's misbehaving. And maybe it's like, I don't know, like an electrified floor. So if you get up from your desk without a hall pass, they just shock you or something. But I could really see this like low budget, cost effective dystopian school system because governments are like, we used to spend millions on educating young people, but now thanks to this contract with blah 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 industries, it's gone down to 1p a head per year or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, there's a vision of that where it could be really good. So, for example, essentially, you'll have your own
That
personalized
was not
tutor,
supposed
right?
to be selling it, by the way. That was not supposed to be selling it. That
I
was
know
supposed
that, right?
to
Yeah,
be
yeah,
like a
yeah. I
Black
mean,
Mirror episode.
I gathered when you said they get zapped. I was like, okay, this is obviously a dystopian vision. But in terms of like, having a personalized tutor who can understand what level you're at and can ask you questions and determine your knowledge skill set and then give you a personalized curriculum based on that, that is not far away. I've seen people prepare for job interviews on videos by saying, hey, give me 5 questions that they're most likely going to ask me for this role. And then they'll give them the questions, they'll respond, and they'll be like, actually, can you make it harder? These are too easy. And then when they're stuck,
Yeah.
they say, what could I say? And the AI with the voice chat GPT is able to help them, guide them through. So you can imagine all forms of education, being like that, and then just having a teacher just to supervise. And I know teachers are probably listening to this and they're going to hate this, But I'm just saying what's possible, not necessarily what should happen and what will be ideal. Because how many times do you have a classroom where you've got exceptional students just having to like sit back and wait for the other students to catch up and vice versa? It's like, so we should have personalized education in that sense. And that probably is something, a product that somebody's going to work on, because how many parents are spending millions of dollars on tutors globally? Like you imagine in places like China and places like, other developing countries in the UK, the rich people in the US, like they're spending so much money on tutors, and this might be the future. Sorry, tutors, you're getting replaced by an AI, but find a new hustle in it. I'm joking. Yo, everyone, are you a super fan of Techish? If so, you need to sub to our Patreon, and there's a bunch of benefits that you get. One, you get exclusive Patreon only stories that we save for you lucky fans that subscribe. You get to submit questions. You get early bird discounted tickets to our live shows, and you get an ad-free version of the podcast. So if you're ever listening, you're thinking, I just want to skip the ads, this is for you. So sub to our Patreon. The link is in the show notes. So let's have a quick chat about fake Chinese goods quickly, and what to me appeared that somewhere in the deep recesses of the Chinese government, someone just flicked a switch and just said, we're going to turn TikTok into an extravaganza of Chinese manufacturers promoting their wares and claiming that they are the manufacturer behind an assortment of luxury goods. And a lot of people in the West basically saying, oh my God, like Lululemon is getting made for like $1. Hermes bags are made for like $10. Like we're getting finessed here. Birkenstocks are like $15. And so I did research. I read an article where the journalist basically was like, listen, when I looked into it, these are all just dupes. These are all duplicates. These are not the actual factories making these products. In what world would the actual factory making these products risk themselves being outed and losing their client by saying, we can sell you a discounted version, right? Now, do I believe that they had a point, which was that many of us believe that made in China means low quality. Many of us believe that made in Europe means high quality. We have these biases that are often linked in kind of like European colonial thought processes where Europe is white supremacy, that Europe is the greatest place ever. So that is true. So I commend that overall trend for showing people that I'm sure there are artisans and creatives in China that can make products as good, if not, better. But let's not pretend that these are one and the same. These are not the same products. This is obviously just a way to monetize, TikTok audiences and try to sell them stuff.
Similar though.
They're very similar. I'm not saying that they're probably identical, but don't get twisted. When I grew up, I had fakes. I had fake Air Forces, and they were as good, if not as good, as the real Nikes. You know what I'm saying? The factories that make the fakes have skilled people. They know what they're doing. Don't get twisted in it. But it's obviously probably not the same material or completely identical or whatever, right?
I like that this war will be fought on TikTok. It's very entertaining.
100%.
Because they said the revolution will not be televised, but they didn't realize that the revolution would be occurring on a social media platform. Yeah. Morgan DeBond of Afrotech had this really interesting post on Instagram, which was like, this is why they didn't want us to have TikTok, because
100%.
They can't control the narrative. Now that's what we see happening. But I don't personally think it's surprising to the average American consumer that you can get like something very similar to Lululemon for a fraction of the price, because that's not the only reason why people are buying Lululemon. Look, I own a Lululemon jacket. I know it's expensive. I know I probably could have bought a cheaper, similar version of something at another brand, but I wanted to have that piece. There's like a status attached to wearing like actual Crocs versus supermarket Crocs. And when I was a kid in the 90s, we had a store called Payless. I don't even think it exists anymore, but Payless was a shoe store. It's like Shoe Zone.
Paylessy, man.
Paylessy. Did you have it here?
No, so there was a story where this guy got a shop during like Fashion Week in Paris and called it Paylessy and got the exact Payless product and put it in, but made it look really fancy. And all the designers walked in there, they were like, oh my God, this is a beautiful product.
We at Payless wondered how much people would pay for our shoes if they didn't know they were our shoes. So we rebranded for a weekend. We built a fake luxury store, filled it with avant-garde sculptures and displays. We even hired a full team of sales associates. Then we filled all the shelves with Payless shoes and jacked up our...
This is amazing. Where do you get this from? And in the end, he revealed, obviously, guys, listen, this is all Payless in it. And just goes to show that how much of status and branding plays into like what is determined to be quality products, basically. But anyways, that was a fun tangent.
No, the reason I mentioned that is because I remember in the 2000s when I was still in like secondary school, high school, and that's when like Uggs first came over from Australia and everyone was wearing like Uggs, and it was like when like Paris Hilton and like, what was the other person? Anyway, Paris Hilton and The Simple Life.
Oh, Paris Hilton,
and
their friend.
Their juicy tracksuits.
Something Richie.
Thank you, Nicole Richie.
Yeah. Nicole Richie.
They would wear their velour juicy tracksuits tucked into their Ugg boots, and I was just like, I have to dress like that. That was so cool. And I remember saying to my parents, like, I need to get Ugg boots, and they were just like, are you for real? Like these like fugly things that cost so much money and you're going to wear them in the summer. Like, that's so dumb. So then I was just like, oh, how am I going to get Uggs? How am I going to get Uggs? And then I went to Payless and I could just, get the Payless version of Uggs for like $20 compared to the $100 or whatever they cost. So I don't think it's surprising to consumers to learn this, but I mean, it's a smart campaign, but that's not the appeal. Like you said, like you were buying fake Nikes, but you weren't just buying white trainers, were you? Or black and white trainers. Like, you had to have that tick, you had to have that logo, and that's what people pay for. That's what they value.
But I think in this story, people are not thinking that, oh, I can get a discounted fake version of these goods. They're genuinely believing that these are the exact same goods. And they're genuinely believing that these French brands and these whatever European brands are pretending to say they're made in France. So
this Lululemon manufacturer is going to send them $8 Lululemon leggings with the logo on top.
Yeah, but you got to realize that like one average IQ of a user on TikTok probably ain't super duper high, and this clip is not going on TikTok, by the way. Me just saying that, like, people are just very, they're easy to fool, man. Like,
don't bite the hand that feeds you.
They see something go viral and they just there's no critical thinking skills, is what we talked about in the previous segment about ChatGPT. Like, critically think for a second. Like, why would a factory expose their own client like that?
Are those videos for consumers or are they for other businesses? Like, come do business with us? Because like the one that I saw, she was like, and we can ship to all countries. I felt like they're trying to get people in America, like importers, to be like, yes, let me start a leggings business. Let me start competitive leggings business. Also, I like that they kept calling it a yoga suit in that clip. I was like, oh, lost in translation.
You know what? The other thing I would say, and last thing on this, I believe that obviously US businesses and US brands and global American and Western brands have often framed themselves as like, we are the manufacturers and makers of these products. Actually, to be fair, most of these companies are just the IP layer. So you have the intellectual property,
designed
you have the name,
in USA.
You have the design layer, the IP layer, the intellectual property, but actually all the grunt work is done potentially in other places, right? So I believe this was also a warning signal to US capitalist entities. If China stops basically taking IP seriously, you're in a world of pain, because like they could literally just clone everything. And if they didn't care about IP, they could just rip you off. 100% wholesale, sell it globally. Because my friend who is Chinese always tells me that, yeah, in China, you can go get the fake stuff quite easily from the same factories, basically. But they only tend to sell it to the local, the domestic market. But if they're like, do you know what? Who cares now? We're going to sell fake this, fake that globally. We're going to go to the
Threat. Who from America is going to go to China to buy their fake Lululemon leggings? And who in America is going to import the exact, like, is that a real threat?
It's a threat in the sense that they might sell it to Vietnam, to Japan, to other parts of Europe who don't have tariffs, and say, you don't want to service the rest of the world? We're going to flood the whole world with fake versions of your products, and we don't give a damn anymore. Because it's a war. And in war, all things are fair, right?
When I went to Beijing in 2017, there was all these brands. I was staying in like San Lutan, Soho, so like quite a bougie part of town. And in the mall, there were all these brands that I hadn't seen in years, like Von Dutch and stuff. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, China is this really interesting place where like brands that are no longer in the zeitgeist in the US are doing quite well. I mean, Chinese people have a lot of money and they spend a lot of money and they love fashion. And I also wonder, like, isn't there going to be like some kind of retaliation as well? Like, eventually, aren't these US businesses that are actually doing really well in China, relying on Chinese customers, going to be like, yo, you're really screwing us over here. That's a big market for us. Like, fix this.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We'll see. This is a Patreon segment. So if you have our Patreon, you're going to hear this next story. If you don't, you won't. So if you want to hear this extra story, we're going to talk about how layoffs have disproportionately impacted POC employees. Stay on board and go sub now. That's this week's Techish, everyone. Thank you for listening. We love and appreciate you. Catch us on @TechishPod on YouTube, on Instagram, on Threads, on X. And we will see you next week. And also sub to our Patreon if you want ad-free version of this episode.
Patreon.
And you want extra content. And we'll see you soon.
Extra exclusive.
Peace.